My name is Jeremy Thomas. At 95 years old, time is no longer just a passing number, but a mirror that reflects the soul with brutal honesty. I stand at the 11th hour of my life, watching the remaining grains of sand fall through the hourglass. There's a terrifying stillness in realizing that much of what we chase is simply wrong. Many people ask about my greatest regret. The answer might surprise you. It was not a shameful failure, but the years I spent inside the same room, never realizing that the exit door was never actually locked. I was imprisoned by my own ignorance for decades, a captive of a comfort zone that slowly turned into a grave for my true potential. We often feel that we have struggled so hard that we are out of breath. We run on the tracks of routine, sweating and feeling exhausted every single day. Yet, when we pause to wipe the sweat, we realize the bitter truth that we are still standing at the exact same point. Our exhaustion is merely an illusion of progress in a world that never moves. The secret I have only come to understand in these twilight years is simply yet fatal. You can never step into a new level of your life if you do not even know that such a level actually exists. We cannot climb a ladder that we cannot see, and we can never reach a destination that we have never dared to imagine in the silence of our hearts. For nearly a century, I spent most of my time simply looking down. I mourned every small pebble that hurt my feet, complaining about how rough this road was, without ever once daring to look up. Right in front of my eyes, there was a golden ladder reaching toward the sky, waiting for me to climb it at any moment, but I was too blind to notice. Many of us are trapped not because we lack strength, but because we feel enough with what we have. We choose to be blind to great possibilities because we are terrified of change. We prefer the darkness we know over the light above that still feels so foreign and frightening. We settle for the cage because we forgot how to fly in the open sky. Awareness is the first key to any form of true transformation. Before you can begin to climb, you must dare to admit that your vision has been wrong all along. So, in this 11th hour of my life, I ask one small thing of you. Stop looking down at the dust and start noticing the ladder before you. The world is far wider than your fear of it. My last memory of that alley was the moment I finally forced my neck up. My eyes, usually fixed on dust, were blinded by the light spilling from above. For the first time, the world felt taller than my despair, but it was just a glimpse, and the weight of my habits soon tried to drag me back down. True sight requires a new type of endurance. The factory line didn't change because I looked up once. I still punched the clock, performed the repetitive motions, a living gear in a vast, indifferent machine. The routine was a heavy blanket that whispered of permanence, convincing me that this exhausting stillness was the only definition of a meaningful life. The fixed mind thrives on repetition. We lived in a curated silence of satisfaction. The people around me, content in their small victories, were comfortable on the plateau they had reached. Their acceptance of enough was infectious, a warm fog that blurred the edges of any ladder that dared to stand nearby, making us all settle into a stagnant comfort, mistaking security for fulfillment. But as I aged, I saw a divide. It wasn't defined by the size of their bank accounts, but by the size of their vision. The truly poor are not always cash poor, but mind poor, unable to perceive the structure that others are climbing. We are trained to see only the pavement, never the patterns in the walls that lead to something greater. True wealth is the ability to see the invisible ladder. Most are trained to see only the limit, the dead end. In the alley, most saw the brick wall, not the weatherwood leaning against it, reaching for the sun. The growth mind sees the potential of the climb where the static mind sees only a hard barrier that cannot be crossed. When awareness finally opens your inner eye, the very fabric of your world begins to bend. What you once thought was a ceiling becomes a floor, and the horizon reveals a structure, ancient and immense, that defies gravity. A great ladder, made of iron and hope, ascends from the sea of clouds toward an unimaginable future. I am 95 now. The young man in that alley is a ghost. But that ghost found the staircase, and I spent the rest of my life climbing it. Tonight, I ask you not just to look up, but to actively search for the invisible ladder. It is right in front of you, waiting to be seen. Begin the search. Climbing that invisible ladder during the day, struggling against the fixed habits of 90 years, it is exhausting work. But I learned that the true structure of the climb isn't designed in the sunlight. The real blueprint is drafted at night, when the busy world finally shifts its noisy machinery into a low hum. Midnight is the architect's true working hour. There is a brief, fragile moment between consciousness and slumber. The twilight state. Most drift through it passively, letting the exhausted mind sink into the darkness. But I learned to hold that moment. To enter the alpha state with intention, allowing my wrinkled body to relax while my inner eye remained awake, focused on the design I wanted to build. When the sun vanishes and our conscious eyes close, we imagine our minds rest. That is a dangerous error. While the world sleeps, your subconscious mind never sleeps. It is a tireless factory that runs a midnight shift, working with whatever blueprint you handed it last. Do not mistake the stillness of sleep for an absence of labor. During my younger years, I worked that nocturnal shift unconsciously. I was a foolish architect. I spent those silent pre-sleep minutes dwelling on my anxieties, my failures, the dust in that alley. My mind dutifully accepted that fixed blueprint and spent the entire night constructing a reality filled with obstacles for me to face in the morning. You must seize the pen before the darkness arrives. Use that sacred twilight hour not for worry, but for affirmation. Consciously plan who you wish to become and the destination you are aiming for. When your body relaxes, your subconscious is waiting for instructions. It does not argue, it just acts. Write your own ending before you close your eyes. We find it easy to believe in disasters. We find it simple to vividly imagine bad outcomes, letting our bodies tense up in preparation for the worst. It is a strange paradox of the human condition. If you possess the profound courage and energy to vividly imagine something terrible happening, why can you not find the exact same energy to vividly imagine something wonderful? I am 95 years old, and my climb is not over. But every morning when I find the strength to begin that ascent again, I know that the geometry of the ladder, the height of the clouds, and the certainty of my steps, they were all finalized the night before, while the rest of the world slept. Become the architect of your own silence. Design the life you want before the night takes over. The table where you break bread is more than just a place for food. It is a sacred laboratory where your future is synthesized. At 95, I can look back at the empty chairs of my past and tell you exactly which ones held me back and which ones pushed me toward the sky. Who sits at your table today is the silent architect of your destiny tomorrow. In my younger years, I often sat with those who only spoke of other people. Their words were filled with the smallness of gossip and the bitterness of envy. It is a lower frequency, a heavy, gray fog that settles on the mind, making you believe the world is small. This kind of company is a slow poison. It trains your eyes to look for flaws rather than ladders. But then, I found the others. They didn't talk about who, they talked about how and why. They spoke of ideas that felt too big for the room. Being near them wasn't about a display of wealth or flexing. It was about the resonance of their frequency. Ambition is not an act of pride. It is a vibration of the soul that demands more from the universe. Energy is the most contagious thing on this earth. You cannot sit with lions and expect to remain a sheep. When you surround yourself with those who see the invisible ladder, your own eyes begin to adjust to the light. You stop seeing the dust on the floor and start noticing the architecture of the stars. You become the average of the 5 souls you listen to most. There is something profoundly attractive about a mind that dares to dream. I've heard it called sexy, not because of the body, but because of the clarity of the spirit. A person obsessed with growth carries a light that eliminates the mundane. Their words are clean, focused, and free from the filth of small-mindedness. They don't just speak, they illuminate. If you cannot find these people, then dare to sit alone. Solitude is a far more noble companion than a circle that asks you to shrink yourself. I have spent many nights in my study, surrounded only by the spirits of great thinkers and books, and I was never more alive than when I finally stopped trying to fit into rooms that were built too small for my spirit. Tonight, look at the people you call your friends. Do they discuss the height of the ladder, or do they complain about the rough texture of the wood? Your soul is a precious garden. Be careful who you allow to walk through it. Choose your frequency wisely, for it is the only thing you will carry with you into the silence of the end. Ambition is a powerful engine. It is the fire that fuels the climb up the invisible ladder. But at 95, I have seen many men burn their own houses down just to keep that fire going. They forget that a car without brakes is not a vehicle, it is a tragedy waiting to happen. You must learn the art of the engine, but you must also master the art of the stop. I watched my contemporaries climb until they collapsed. They reached the clouds but were too busy looking for the next rung to enjoy the view. They lacked the courage to say the most difficult word in the human language, enough. Without that word, you are not a climber, you are a prisoner of your own greed, destined to fall because you didn't know how to rest. There is a profound grace in the plateau. It is the moment you step off the ladder and realize that you have reached a height where the air is clear and the soul can finally breathe. Finding enough is not about giving up, it is about recognizing that you have gathered all the tools you need to build a life of peace rather than a life of constant battle. The ultimate level of the ladder is not made of wood or iron, it is made of surrender. It is the humble acknowledgement that we are small, and that there is a hand greater than ours guiding the stars. To surrender is not to lose, it is to win the war against your own ego. It is admitting that you are a tired traveler who is finally, blissfully, ready to come home. From where I sit now, at the 11th hour, the ladder looks different. The rungs I fought so hard to reach seem smaller, but the sky I stepped into feels infinite. I realized that the climb was never about the destination, it was about the man I became while I was climbing. I am no longer the boy in the alley, I am the sky that finally welcomed him. So, my friend, climb with everything you have. Use the midnight hours to design your dreams and choose your companions as if your life depends on it, because it does. But remember to keep your heart soft enough to know when the climb is done. Don't wait until you are 95 to realize that the most beautiful part of the ladder is the moment you let it go. The sun is almost down now, and the shadows are long and kind. I am tired, but I am not afraid. I have seen the ladder, I have made the climb, and I have found my peace. My name is Jeremy Thomas, and my journey is complete. Now, it is time for yours. Don't waste another second. Look up, and begin. Goodbye.